Our next guest has been with us a couple of times, or I'm not sure, at least one time here at LACPUG, and then we did an interview at Moviola also.
Yes.
Anyway, you've been very generous with your time with us, which is really cool because working editors are usually working, and they don't have a lot of time to share their expertise with all of you, and it is just a great privilege to have their expertise shared with you. And he is one of the most articulate people that I have met in a long, long time, even though I'm going to embarrass him here right now. So, but let me tell you a little bit about our guest, Kevin Tent. After attending the Los Angeles City College's film school, Kevin Tent got his first break editing the film Not of This Earth. I don't know how many people saw Not of This Earth, but that was with, what's her name?
Tracy Lords.
Tracy Lords.
Her first legitimate movie.
Yeah, she was actually really good. This wasn't a porn movie. She was actually really good in it. And this was for beat producer Roger Corman, and you did other movies for Roger Corman, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Many of them.
Yeah, so that's like the coolest thing ever, getting started in production and post-production with Roger Corman. And simultaneously, Kent tapped into the emerging U.S. independent film movement, cutting the underground hit Gun Crazy, which is now a classic, directed by Tamara Davis, and then Citizen Ruth by director Alexander Payne. He was also, by the way, the executive producer of Crash Pad, which we're going to talk about tonight. And Tent has cut all of Payne's movies since, including Election, including Sideways, including The Descendants, for which he received an Academy Award nomination. So I am sitting next to an Academy Award nominated editor.
Thank you.
Which is really cool. Is that did it change your life? I mean, all of a sudden people go to your parties?
They came to our parties anyways before
did
that.
They?
Yeah.
So you threw really, really good parties.
No, I just had people that wanted to just party, I guess.
Oh,
I think I just had friends like that.
I know. Editors are real party animals.
Yeah.
And anyway, after his long and sordid career in editing, Tent makes his directorial debut with Crash Pad, which is an original Blacklist selected screenplay written by Jerry Catalina, and that is what we are going to talk about tonight. An editor makes his directorial debut tonight, talking about his feature, Crash Pad. And I can't see anything. Could you just take the house lights just up a little bit? Yeah, that's probably good. Does anybody actually listen to me when I said watch Crash Pad on video demand? Did anybody actually do it? Because it's hard to find, isn't it? Yeah, nobody did it.
You just told us.
No, I didn't tell you. If you would have paid attention, I would. When I sent out the invites, I watch it and rate it. It's on video demand right now. However, it's going to open on Friday.
Friday night. It'll be at the Burbank 8, and it plays all week there. So
yeah, this is a really weird thing. It's on video demand now, and then it'll be released in theaters on Friday.
It is a weird thing. Don't ask me. That's a whole nother show.
Well, we'll talk about that a little bit. But anyway, Crash Pad stars Domhnall Gleeson, Thomas Haden Church, Christina Applegate, and Nita Dobrev. Okay, we just saw the trailer. Did you like the trailer?
I thought it could have been better, but it seems to be working for people, which is great.
Yeah, we talked about this the other day. Would you like to do your own trailers? Would you like to do I know it's a specific set of skills.
Yeah.
I know you have used to do trailers.
Yes, I did.
But would you like, say, the trailer for Downsizing, which is your next movie coming out in December? That was a trailer, good trailer. Was that a trailer that you would have liked to have done?
I don't think I could have done that. I really don't. That is really such a specific skill set, and I just don't have my tools are not sharpened that way. But I think they did a terrific job, and maybe we'll show the downsizing trailer later. But.
Yeah, we'll do that later. Okay, so, all right. You're an editor. You have been editing for how many years?
Like 30.
30 years.
I cut my first feature film almost 30 years ago.
Now, you went to LA City College. Did you
Yeah.
go to LA City College for editing, or did you
no,
want to be
I
a director?
I went to I went to LA City College not really knowing what I wanted to do, but I made some short films there, and it's right down the street. And you guys should check it out if you ever want to investigate. Just going back.
By
to
the
school
way,
there.
it still has a good rep.
It does
for a
it
film
does.
school.
Yeah, and I had made a couple of short films there, and then I was just telling Trevor. My first job right out of film school there was editing educational films, which were, really lame. Yeah. Those films we all saw in high school. The guy I worked
Don't drive drunk and that.
Don't drive drunk, health stuff, venereal disease films, all those kind of fun things.
Did you really?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. And they were all on 16 millimeter film, and I did the job for a very long time. Well, very long time, a few years. But I remember thinking, oh my God, I'm not. Progressing, my career is just stuck. I'm in this spot. And I just told Trevor this too, that, but I learned so much on that job. And then I got the call to go down to Roger Corman's studio, and there was a film that was problematic. No one wanted to deal with it. And they literally just gave it to me and said, fix it and finish it. And because I had done these educational films, I didn't cut my own negative, but I did cut the sound effects. I sunk the dailies. I did everything. So I was like a one-man show when I went to Rogers, and I was able to do all the things I needed to do. Like everything I'd learned worked perfectly there.
But what you've learned, was it? Did you want to do what you were doing, which was editing and fixing things, or did you really want to direct?
Oh, good question. I think I did want to direct, but I was like, I needed a job. And
yeah.
So
you had the golden handcuffs kind of thing going on. Were you married?
I wasn't married. I wasn't married when I was doing the educational films,
Okay.
but I got married right around the same time I got my first recut at Rogers. But no, it's true. I did want to direct, and I remember one time at LACC, I'd gone back there for something years later, and I just figured I realized that I loved editing, which I do. It's the greatest. It's such a great job and a great place to be in a film or in a television show or whatever. I remember thinking I'm just going to try to be the best editor I can be right now, and if the directing thing happens later, great. So
you really kind of wanted always for the last 30
but it
years,
kind of
in the back of your head.
Yeah, it got buried though,
Okay.
and I got you got wrapped up in life, and I was always so busy.
Sure.
And but a few years ago, I decided if I was going to do it before I died, I should probably get going.
Okay, so a few years ago, this script fell into your hands.
Yes,
right?
I started looking
So
for
about
scripts.
what you said 5 years ago.
Well, it might even been a little longer than that.
Really?
Yeah, 5-6 years ago. I had to wait for it to come free because it was optioned by somebody else. But I did read it, and I was like, this one's pretty funny. I think maybe it seemed commercial in some ways, and I thought the dialogue was so funny, and I just thought the situation was very funny, and I thought, well, maybe
But
I'll
it
try
wasn't
to do this.
something that you were just totally passionate about. I've got to tell this story.
It wasn't so much that, but out of reading all the things that I had read, which were many, like if I had met someone in a bar or something, they said they were a screenwriter, I'd say, let me read your script. So I did that for a lot. But I did really like this one, and it made me laugh. And at one point I just said, this could be good, and that's going to be the one I'm going to try to make.
Okay, so as an editor, what have you learned over the last 30 years of editing? Some really good movies that would suggest that you can direct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would think I would have
I
known
bet others
more.
have asked you that question.
Yes, they have. And you would think that I would have been even a little more prepared. But I guess the one thing that I always, on the set, it's so crazy on the set, and you hear and you guys have heard these stories too, but it's all happening so fast. And when you're an editor, you're kind of in your nice little room, and, you got your computers and your coffee, and everything's wonderful, but on the set, it's just a bombardment of people trying to freak you out all the time. But I do remember on the set a couple times going, if it's all sucks terribly, I could cut right here, or we could cut the whole scene, you know. And I always figured,
Yeah, I think that's a question I'm going to ask later on in this conversation. Did you direct and edit at the same time? But what was the first day on the set like?
again, it was really fast, and it wasn't. It was a good first day. Like, I was very nervous, obviously.
How prepared were you? Did you storyboard it, or
No,
was it just a shot list?
We shot listed, but we had such a short prep time, as we were talking about the other day. We had 3 weeks and 3 days of prep, which maybe that sounds, I don't know how much you guys know about that, but that's very short amount of time. But the way the funding happened and the way the casting was happening, we had very little time. So we flew up to Vancouver to shoot, and I had to find locations. I had to hire people, and I had to do it all in 3 weeks, and then we started shooting, and it was kind of crazy.
Why? Was it because the cast was only available for a certain amount of time,
Yeah.
and that's just the way that worked?
Yep. We had Domhnall Gleeson, and the way the funding happened, we only had Domhnall Gleeson because he was going to go off and do Star Wars, and so we had him for this little window, but then we didn't get, if we had gotten our funding earlier, then we would have had longer prep, but it was hard to get the money together. It was a nightmare.
Yeah, how long did it take to get the money together? It's really hard to make a movie, as you know.
It's really hard.
I mean, you work for one of the best directors in the world. It's probably hard to make them.
It's hard for him.
Yeah, exactly.
It's hard for him. But he's used to it now. I had never done it, so I didn't understand the ups and downs of how, you get a phone call at 4 p.m. where, well, if the bank doesn't close this, if they don't fund by tomorrow, we're going to have to shut down the movie, and you're like, why? It's ridiculous. But anyways, I forgot what your question was.
Yeah, I forgot what you.
Sorry, I just flashed back.
I did also. I mean, because the story that we had at lunch was, I asked you again, what was the first day of on the set was like, but what was even funnier, what was getting off the plane your first day in Vancouver like, and you got a text.
Yes. Okay. This was how the whole film was, and I mean, everyone's got stories about how crazy things were, but we had a wonderful man who was our producer, Bill Horberg, and another producer I had, Lauren Bratman. I flew up to Vancouver on my own because Bill was in Spain finishing up his other movie, and I turned on my phone in Vancouver, and I flew up with our DP, Seamus, and that was the only person I was able to take to Canada. And I turned on my phone, and there's a message from another producer I know that says, Bill had a heart attack. I'm not sure if he's alive. And I'm like, oh my God. Not only was he the producer, but he was a friend, and I loved him. And I was like, oh my God. And I'm trying to go through customs, and I'm like telling Seamus, we might not have a producer. I don't know what the hell is going on here. And we didn't even have our funding yet then. We flew up to Vancouver.
Seriously?
No, I flew up. I paid for Seamus and my tickets on a credit card to fly up there. And but anyways, Bill survived. His doctor told him from a scale of 1 to 10, it was a 10 that he had.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. But anyways, he's fine now, and he's he's changed his lifestyle, and now he's
because it's like really important to have good producers.
It is,
especially as your first time director.
Yeah, it would have been great to have him there, but I did have Lauren Bratman, who is our other producer, who's young and hungry, and not as does nearly experience that Bill has.
You had a like this amazing cast. Domhnall Gleeson. You had Thomas Haden Church.
Yeah.
You had Christina Applegate and Nina Dobrev.
Yeah.
How did you get those people being Kevin Tent?
I don't know. It's really so
especially
lucky.
a first-time director. You don't get really actors are.
Sure, I'd be nervous too.
Yeah.
I'd be totally nervous if I get nervous editing, and I don't know if you guys have done this, but I get nervous when it's a first-time director. I sometimes say, well, no, I mean, because you're going to have a lot of problems,
Yeah, right.
So,
and did you have a lot of problems? You did have a lot of problems, but that's the nature of making movies.
That's true. It's
right?
true. It's true. But no, I was very fortunate with the cast, and really, it all came together when Domhnall wanted to do it, and it was a low budget film too, so it wasn't major.
So what did you do, and we really haven't gotten into this much, but what did you do to prepare for your first directorial debut, other than having 30 years of editing experience. It's a whole different trip, shaping performance in your edit suite than it is getting the performance on a set.
Yeah. I really didn't
And
prepare
I'm sure
enough.
you found that out really quickly.
Yeah, I did. I didn't prepare enough. And I really was really nervous around the actors. And, I've taken some improv classes and I've taken some acting classes.
I mean, you got to speak their language.
Yeah.
And every actor's got a different language.
Yeah, and
different
they all have their own
personality.
ideas. It's really tricky. But I really especially Domhnall, I let him do his thing. I saw right away, like really on the first day, I was like, oh, he's got it. And we had talked a few times. So he seemed so enthusiastic about the role. And I was so glad he was doing it. I just trusted that he would do a good job. And then Thomas, I know from Sideways, because he was in Sideways, and he did, he basically, I'd say he did us a favor, And also, he loves Alexander, and it certainly didn't hurt to have Alexander's name on the project.
Alexander is credited as an executive producer.
Right, yeah. Right. He was our executive producer, and that means he was very busy on downsizing because that was firing up. So it wasn't like he was super active, but he was a total hero and came in at clutch moments and helped us get the movie made. Nina, who's awesome, really wanted to do a comedy, so I think that's one of the things that she liked about doing it.
And then, she's Canadian, so you got the tax break, right?
I think that helped too. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And for her and for Christina, it was short. I mean, they flew in for a couple of days and did their scenes, and so.
What, 2 days?
Well,
really? Well, I guess maybe.
Nina maybe was 3 days. Christina might have been 4 or 5. It wasn't that much.
And the production schedule was 23 days?
We shot in 23 days,
23 days.
Yeah, so it's pretty fast.
Would you had a better movie if you were shot in 26 days?
Probably. Hopefully. I mean, we would have had some things where I cringe and I'm like, we never got that shot right, or we'd have more time to maybe not. Maybe it was good. I mean, Jeremy, the writer, and I had always said, we'll just do it Gonzo style if we have to, handheld. And I didn't want to do that, but if we got into that situation.
How technical are you? I mean, because a director, it's at least some of the best directors, they know their lenses, they know their cameras, they know the choreography of the cameras, and blocking and everything else. I mean, how were you in that area, or do you rely on your cinematographer most of the time?
I really relied on Seamus, our cinematographer, because but. He was so good, and he was such, I love him forever because he worked so hard. He was just having fun, too. He wanted to just have fun and make a fun movie. And so he did so much great stuff, but the way it worked, because I didn't really know lenses that well. I mean, you would think, because we edit so long, but, you get used to in the editing room just going, oh, yeah, that works, so... or that's too close, or sometimes, but usually things aren't like that. They're all pretty good. But on the set, the only thing I would say to Seamus once in a while is that seems too close. So we'd either back the camera away, or if it seemed like we were too wide, too close on, we'd change a lens out or kind of stuff like that. But
so how'd you deal with the? So once all that was taken care of, how'd you deal with the performances? I mean, did you? Again, I see you left it up to Domhnall to do most of whatever you want. I mean, a lot of directors do. They don't say anything. They just let their actors do what they want to, and it is only when the actors say, "I'm stuck. I don't know what to do." And did that ever happen?
No, but I would say this: like every time I did say something, like I didn't like the unintended consequences of a change. Like it would be like, I would be like, but being an editor, I would be like, okay, that's great. They said the line there once. That's good. And then if I said something, maybe we should try it this way instead, I didn't like it. So by the end of the movie, I was like, let them do what they want. And if I ever did it again, if I did have more time, I would just let the actors, I would shoot more and let them do more. So
if you were to give advice to any first-time director, is cast really well and let them do what
I would think so.
Which is, that's what John Huston says, Woody Allen. I mean, they all pretty much let their actors do what they want to do unless they're stuck.
And one thing I'll just throw out too, Alexander. I just kind of said it off the cuff, but one of the things that Alexander, who was we're really good friends, and was super supportive. But he told me, I was in the hotel room, freaking out, and he said that even for him on the set, he always listens, and if he hears the line once in a scene, then he knows he's got that line at least once, and then he'll move on. So he'll get all his lines as long as he hears how he thought it sounded in his head. Then he knows he can move on.
What about rehearsal? Do you have any time for
We
rehearsal?
did not. We had like one afternoon for about 2 hours where Thomas and Domhnall just met, and they got along really well. And we kind of talked the scenes through, and they kind of did some stuff. But we also didn't have locations until the very last second. So we couldn't really storyboard. We couldn't really, choreograph things. We couldn't take the actors to the set and say,
Well, in terms of blocking, did you let the actors determine their own blocking along with the cinematographer, or did you suggest go here, go here, go here?
The Thomas at one point said he was like, you guys, he told me, he said, I think we should do the blocking. And I was like, So I let them kind of do that, but there were definitely specific shots and stuff that I wanted to get, and I knew that they had to get, from this scene, they had to get over to the couches, and I had to figure out how to do that. So it wound up working where they would do stuff, and then I would tweak it, and we kind of figured it out.
Again, we were talking about the distribution of this movie, which is kind of weird because it's on video demand right now. And first of all, you can't find it unless you search for it. And then it's coming out in theaters this Friday. So it's usually the other way around. It comes out in theaters, and then it goes to video on demand. So I don't understand it. I know you don't understand it, and you're probably a little upset about it. I would be upset about it. So there.
Well, they have their theories, and they say it works. They say they make money off of it, but I don't know. But it seems kind of crazy.
Yeah, does that drive you nuts? I mean, this was how long did you work from this? From I know you had the script for forever.
Yeah.
From the day one of production to final cut. How long was that?
Oh, it wasn't that. We were actually shooting right now 2 years ago. We were full on shooting. And then I finished it about a year and a half ago. We finished around July 2016. So, we probably shot for, we shot for 23 days. So it was like a
July 2016?
Yeah, then it sat on the shelf for a while. But that was okay because I was so busy with downsizing. I kind of was like, oh, well, it doesn't seem to be coming out now. And they were, they were doing their stuff with it, and they were focused on other movies. So it kind of flew below the radar for a while, which was okay by me because I was so busy. And then it wound up, then they picked the date in September to release it.
Yeah, how long did it take you from the last time you saw it to the next time you saw it?
You mean when we were finished with it before? Yeah. Well,
how long did it stay there on the shelf before you saw it again?
Well, it was like they were trying to sell it, and then we submitted to Sundance, and we didn't get to the Sundance. So there was stuff happening, but it didn't. Time flew by. It went by pretty quickly. But for that whole time was probably almost a year.
About a year?
Yeah.
Wow.
Almost a year. So. And they didn't quite know what to do with it. They were like, well, maybe we should come out now. Maybe we should come out later. They schedule it all because things get so busy with all the other films coming out, so they try to program it a little bit. But it's pretty crazy out there right now in film distribution.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about post-production. This was edited by Franco Ponte?
Yes.
And did you know him?
Yes, he was my assistant editor on a movie up in Vancouver about 10, 11 years ago. And he was already editing at that point, but then he transitioned into being, since we worked together, he transitioned to being a full-time editor up there. So amazingly lovely guy and great editor. And so he was the editor. And then, but we both worked on it because I'm an editor, so you can't put footage in front of an editor.
That was going to be my next question.
You're like hyenas. You can't help yourselves. So
you did get your hands dirty. You did edit a few scenes.
Yes. Well, it was more like we were editing together. It worked out great. I would go, I was down in LA. He was up in Vancouver. He would send me a scene. I've been thinking about this. What if we do this instead? I'd be like, that's so cool. I go, and then what if we do this? And so we were like going back and forth, sending each other scenes, and it worked out really well. It was fun, and but I think I told you at lunch, he did some of the things that I would have never thought of, and that's what the great thing about having an editor. When you're a director, like he did some of the cuts that I just love, and I'm like, I would have never thought of that. I would have never thought of using that footage here. Like I don't think I would.
At no time you even consider being your own editor.
No, I
considering
really
it was a very low budget movie.
Yeah,
so
well,
could have saved a few dollars.
I could have saved some money.
Maybe not.
No, I really thought it was a good idea to have somebody to bounce ideas off and work, to go back and forth on. So, I mean, in the future, I think I would do the same thing.
Yeah.
I think I would like to be engaged.
I think a lot of people would agree with that. It's not a good idea to direct your own stuff.
Yeah.
However, other people have been very successful with
Soderbergh does all
yeah.
his.
And the Coen brothers, they do theirs.
They do theirs. Yeah.
What do I know?
No, but I loved working with him. It was a really nice relationship.
What you learn from him, other than that it was just good to bounce ideas off of?
I learned that an editor's personality actually comes through on their film, like on film somehow. Like
really?
Some of the things he thought up. I was like, that's really great that he thought that should go right. It was funny. Like he did a lot of funny things that I don't think, like I said, I don't think I would have come upon if it was just on me. But
same sensibility, you think?
He has a different sensibility. He had a different sensibility. He was ready to go for things in a couple places, and he also got me out of some jams. But yet you found what he did
funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he got me out of jams a couple times, and he made it funny at the same times in a couple places, which was great.
The Final Cut, is this the movie that you wanted to make? And is it you feel pretty good about it?
I do feel good. I really just wanted to make a funny movie, and comedies are challenging, and making a movie is hard enough, and making a comedy is hard. But, I think it's not by any means perfect, and I learned so much on it, but in its essence is what I kind of set out to do.
Yeah, you're like most people. When you watch that clip, you go, "Oh my God, I should have done this. I should have done that. I should have done that."
I do that all the time. Yes, but that scene I kind of like. I'm actually thinking that scene plays pretty good. If you see it in the movie, its context all works pretty good. But
going back to the post-production with your editor, and he's in Canada. He's in LA. How did that exactly work? We saw a little bit about Adobe doing their team project thing, which would be through the internet. But did you do one version, he does another version, you guys send it back through what, Dropbox or something?
We used Dropbox, which was, I'm telling you, it worked so smooth and remarkably well. So we had, I had 2 Franco, he had 2 Kevin, and then we had 1 assistant editor up there, Rahan, and 2 Rahan. So I would subclip. We had 1 set of reels that we were like the sacred reels. Like nothing went in there until we all agreed that we're putting that in the reel. So we'd all work in these little subclips of scenes.
And could you do that though in big studio pictures? I mean, because of the security concerns and all that kind of stuff?
No, probably not.
Okay.
Although, we do that if for you guys who work on Avids, like, we all share the media on an ISIS, let's say, on the Avid.
Right.
So we set up the project the same way to, like Joe, our VFX editor on Downsizing, I would send him scenes. He would fix them, put them back to Kevin. I would cut them into the movie. So it wound up, if Dropbox, I think, is pretty secure, but yeah, probably a studio wouldn't let you do it with Dropbox, but they could, I'm sure Avid is coming up with some system that they have that's secure like that.
Okay, now that it's all over,
yes.
Well, hopefully it'll be a huge hit coming on even though I haven't seen anything on television about it.
Yeah, well.
Well,
don't be looking too hard.
I'd be angry about the release too. I think the way they're doing it is pretty goofy.
Yeah.
Anyway, would you have done anything different? Of course you would, but
Yeah.
I'd have to ask that question anyway.
Yeah, what that would be, I'm not quite sure, but I would definitely do things differently. I would like to have more time. That would be the only thing, more prep time.
Does more time in the production? Do you honestly think that would make a difference?
No, probably not.
But more
You're
time
probably right.
preparing.
More time preparing would have been good. I felt like I was always, dashing and running and, running out of time and, it came so quick, 3 weeks. And in Canada too, it was like I was working 7 days a week, but our crew, they worked 5 days a week and we couldn't afford overtime. So those 3 weeks of prep were really, 17 days of with going up there with nothing, with no locations.
I want to turn it over to all you guys. Can we bring the lights up as far as it'll go? I'm going. Can somebody do the? Is that Jerry Springer guy still here? Can you do that again? Because you were like the best. You were perfect. If you want to ask a question, and I hope some of you will ask questions, and Kevin will answer them the best he can.
Do you think being a director who is also an editor means that you're getting more coverage because you don't want to back the editor in the corner, or you're getting less coverage because you know exactly what you want your scenes to look like?
Good question.
That is a really good question. That's one of the things. If I could do it over again, I would have shot more coverage. But again, I was so jammed with time. I knew we had so gypped out the post-production budget when we got the movie greenlit that I knew we couldn't go into our contingency. So I never went overtime the whole time we shot, not one day. And everyone was like, "Wow, I can't believe you did that." But I knew we had no money in post, so I didn't do it. But I wish I would have shot more coverage at time and different coverage. I didn't shoot a lot of masters. I got those like in one. I was like, all right, we're not going to use that much. We're going to use it when I walk in, walk out, whatever, But I wish I would have gotten more varied coverage. But I was watching performances too, so yeah, I wish I would have gotten more if I could. And also I did a couple times. I thought, oh no, this will play. I think I'm good. We don't need to get coverage. And then in the cutting room, I was classic. Oh damn, why didn't I get that? I should have. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have any money for reshoots?
We did. We had some money for reshoots, in which we did shoot a couple scenes, and one of them was one of my favorite scenes that we got in the movie.
Oh, good.
Which was great, and I never.
Oh, that was the drinking scene
with Christina Applegate,
yeah,
where she tells how she fell in love with Grady and why she fell in love with him, and how he changed her life, and it did so many things for the movie, and it gave us another scene with her, which was great.
Yeah.
Hi, Kevin. I'm Cindy.
Hi, Cindy.
Hi. I actually have a question about downsizing.
Sure.
I'm a film critic, and I saw the world premiere at the festival.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I really thought it was a cool film, really different concept.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, with all the miniature people
Yeah.
in it, I was wondering, if you could kind of explain how you, much of it was visual effects. Right?
Yeah.
So, how did you work with the visual effects person, and how much of that was the visual effects, and what was the editing part of it, in terms of some of
choices that were made?
Yeah.
Well, we, going back to how Alexander works, performance is everything. So we really cut the movie for performances, knowing that that the visual effects would work themselves out. But it was a complicated movie in a lot of ways. But we had highly paid professionals that figured out all the visual effects. But we would cut what we thought were good performances, and I used very simple Avid things like superimpositions. I would take 2 shots, slap them on top of each other, shrink down a person a little bit just to get it rough. And then we had Joe Carson, and our amazing visual effects editor, who would take it, make it slightly better. Once we kind of locked it in, then we'd send it off to the highly paid professionals, and they would give us, better shots. But everything we picked to cut with was really performance driven. That was why we chose what we chose to do, if that answers your question.
And by the way, any questions don't have to be specific to CrashPad. It could be anything that Kevin's done in his career.
Yeah.
I think most editors can kind of get stuck in the lockbox syndrome. You know, no windows, one room.
Yeah.
Not a lot of interaction. And
I know what you
great.
mean. Yeah.
It's it's I have the same editor-producer relationship where he dies on ideas, and then I can jump in and take over. But a lot of times, what I find when I'm working by myself, I don't have anybody to bounce ideas off of, and I get stuck in this like editor block, writer block kind of thing.
Right.
I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on working through that.
How to get out of that? I think show it to people. You know, I think that's the best thing. You know, you step back, invite a couple of people. You know, for CrashPad, you know, I had my friends from film school, LACC, come on over in my family room, and we watched the movie there. You know, that's the best way to kind of, it's like a cold shower. And you see what's working, what's not, and you can adjust.
It's almost like I notice more when someone else is there.
I think editors become very sensitive to how things are playing for other people. And you react to that. You can tell when you're losing them or they're liking it or they're, you know, and you become very sensitive to that. And that's why screening for people, I think, is the best. Even if it's a, you know, if you've been working out alone for 2 nights, you show it to your girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever, and, you know, just to get some feedback. But I think that's always good. That's what I do.
All right, next question. So we're hearing that CrashPad's on VOD, but we don't know which specific outlets. Could you tell us where we can see it and what's going to make you the most money back?
I am never going to get any money back on this. I'm sure of it. But, you know, who knows? If people really start renting it. But it's on iTunes. It's on Amazon. It's on VOD. You know, if you have DirecTV or something like that, you can find it that way. And it's playing in Burbank this weekend at the Burbank 8. The town.
That's it?
Yeah. In it's down in Orange, too, if you want to drive down to Orange. You can go down there. And it's playing in like 20 cities, but I swear to God, some of the cities are so far out of they're in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, who's going to go out and see it out there? But anyways, that's what I know.
So are you going to the Burbank?
I'm going to go to the Burbank screening, and I'm going to go to Orange. I like Orange a lot. It's cool down there. That's where Chapman University is. So I've been down there a couple times.
Yeah, it's like the coolest city.
It's really cool. They don't call it Orange for nothing. That's where all the oranges, that used to be all orange groves down there. And it's kind of cool. You can still see the remnants of the old.
It's where Donald Trump feels at home.
Yes. Yeah.
No political jokes, no, sir.
Rapid fire technical questions here.
Yeah.
What did you shoot on? What did you cut on? Where did you post?
We cut on an Alexa camera, but Seamus, the DP, found very old Panavision lenses, which he was so excited about, and they're from the 60s, and he was so thrilled with them. And they do give a very cool look, and like the bottoms go out of focus a little bit, and so he was very thrilled about that. And then we cut on the Avid.
And your post? Where'd you post?
We posted up in Canada. So most of the editing was done up there, the mixing was done up there, all the color correction, all that was done up there.
Over here. You go back. We'll get you next.
Yeah, okay, congratulations on
Oh, thank you.
achieving your goal.
Yes, thank you.
And after all is said and done, what was the budget?
$3.5 million.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and you know, then when we went to Canada, we had the exchange rate, which helped us. And then we had a lot of tax incentives up there, which helped us a lot too. So, like in Canadian money, I'm not quite sure, but like 4 million, I think, in Canadian money. But for American money, is 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
So.
So you produce that yourself? Or?
No, we borrowed the money.
Okay.
We borrowed it from banks and that kind of stuff. And we had a negative pickup deal with Sony, a small division of Sony.
Was that easier process because you cast?
It was, yeah, it's so complicated, but I think it made it happen. So I don't really know. I mean, all that money comes with lots of strings attached, no matter where you get it from, and it always comes with baggage that you're gonna have to deal with at some point. So, you know, that's what wound up happening with us.
Thank you.
Remind me, I want to show the downsizing.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
So was this an original screenplay or was it a book?
It's an original screenplay based on Jeremy Catalino's real life. This kind of sort of happened to him. So he was a young guy living on West Hollywood, and he had this affair with this woman that had come down from Portland, Oregon. And he was like, oh my God, I finally am in love. I got this woman. And then right at the end of the weekend, she tells him that she's married and that she's going back up to Portland. And so he was devastated and crushed. And so that's what the basic of the story is from. So, but it was a blacklist screenplay, and it was kicking around for about 5 years before I got my paws on it. And I had to wait about a year for it to become free before I could option it. And so I kept taking Jeremy out to breakfast and lunch and dinner, like saying, when the option comes up, you should let me direct this. And finally it came up and he said, okay, so I optioned it.
So now that you're a director, is this your new course of action, or are you going to still dabble in editing? And also, if you could go back and kind of, instead of editing for so long, would you have started directing sooner?
That's a really good question. First of all, I will go back to editing, I think, because you know, it took so long to get this project going, and I do love editing. I really do. And you know, I don't know if I would have been ready any earlier to direct something. And I've been so fortunate with the career I have in editing. You know, and I wouldn't want to miss out on any of the projects that I've been involved with in editing. So that's a good question. I don't know. But no, I don't think I would have. I think the timing was right for me, even though it's later than I thought, but it all worked out. So, and I think what I'd like to do is maybe, if in the perfect world, I would love if I could just edit Alexander Payne movies and then direct once in a while in between. That would be the perfect world.
That'd be a great.
It'd be great. It'd be great.
Okay.
Hi, I'm an editor as well.
Great.
And I'm going to be directing a feature.
Oh, good.
Oh, wow.
So I'm kind of getting a lot out of this.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, with the casting process,
Yeah.
were the names enough? Did you have them read, or did you have some almost people? Like, what was the whole casting process like? 'Cause
The casting was crazy, but the only person I ever wanted for stenciling, and the only person we went to, was Domhnall. And I knew who he was, and I said, this guy will be perfect. And but the studio, you know, where the money was coming from, they didn't put the money up, but they said they would buy the movie when it was done. They kept having us go after people like for Grady. They you know, you should send it to Daniel Craig. And I'd be like, why is Daniel Craig going to do a movie for no money, you know, with a first-time director? It's not going to happen. But you had to do these ridiculous things and go after all these big, huge, gigantic movie stars because they told us we had to. But it was ridiculous because it wasn't going to ever happen. And then they have all their metrics of how much each actor is worth, and you know, oh, this guy, if you get Christina Applegate, she's worth this much foreign, and this, you know, Thomas, it's horrible. You know, it's a good thing actors don't know about all that. But anyways, it's a process, and when it comes together, it's a miracle. That's the thing.
I want to show before we get to the raffle, because I know some of you got to get going. I want to show the trailer to downsizing. Go ahead and ask the question, and we'll get to that.
Yeah, we talked a lot about your directing and the current projects you're editing, but I wanted to know about how you started. How did you form your relationship with Alexander, and any tips that you could give us as an editor?
As an editor. You know, when I was starting out, I just constantly was cutting stuff, and I said no to nothing. I would just cut. I did so many Roger Corman movies. I would just go from the next one to the next one, and they were all really fast. It was kind of like I kind of think it's like how TV is now. Like because people move so quickly in TV, and you can be an assistant one year, and the next year you could be cutting a couple shows, and then then you're the lead editor on it. So it can happen very fast. But I was just very lucky. Alexander was a first-time director, and I interviewed with him. I think he always really liked the idea that I had cut for Roger Corman a lot, and he had liked Tamara Davis's Gun Crazy. Because that had kind of gotten like a hip, cool vibe to it, an indie vibe. So I think he liked those things. And then we just kind of hit it off. He was a really sweet guy from Omaha, and I'm from Buffalo, New York, and I don't know, we kind of just clicked. So, and he didn't want to have a granddaddy editor. Like he didn't want someone with a lot of power that was going to tell him what to do. He wanted to figure it out himself or figure it out with me. And that's why he's really a good editor. Yeah, in his own right. So
Yeah, but he doesn't quite get computers though.
Yeah,
right?
the only reason he still hires me is because I just push the buttons. No, it's not true. It's not true. But if he did, he says, I tell him I'll teach you how to. He wants to make a documentary about his brother, and I'm like, I'll teach you how to use it. It's not that hard. He cut on film. I mean, he could jump to the Avid pretty quickly, I'm sure. But so one of these days, maybe I'll help him out on that if he ever gets that together.
Or you can direct a documentary.
Oh, there's an idea.
There you go.
That's an idea.
Did you cut Fantastic Four?
No, I did not. But I know about it. I was down there when they were working on it. That's a movie that got Roger made and got bought up and completely.
2 weeks.
It played for 2 weeks?
No, it's like it never played.
It never played because a studio decided they wanted to make it instead, so they bought his version of it to basically get rid of it.
Really?
Yeah, and all those people worked so hard on it. So I'm grateful that hasn't happened to me.
But the best story is if you go to IMDb and look up Kevin Tent, they got him directing a couple of movies before this one, and it's not true that you didn't direct those 2 movies.
Right.
You fixed those 2 movies using footage from another movie, which is I still don't quite wrap my head around how you did that.
Yeah.
But it's still kind of the coolest story ever.
It is, and I just wrote a thing. I think it's coming out next week. I wrote a whole big thing on how I did it, and
you did?
it's coming out
great.
next week on a thing called Talk House, like a blog called Talk House.
I can't wait to
It was a movie called Ultra Warrior. It was so horrible. It was bad, and they just didn't know it. They owned it, and they were like, well, give it to Kevin. Let's see what he can do with it. And I cut in footage from probably like 20 movies of different other movies. And all the characters in the movie would have these flashbacks. And there we go. I remember before the apocalypse, and then it would dissolve to their, and I just got ridiculous with voiceover and crazy footage from these other Roger movies. And I say in the article, I have no idea why the studios don't do that. They own all these movies. They have car crashes from other movies. Right? If you need a car crash, just go into your library and pull it out and, put it in your movie. But.
All right. It's really, really good, just like Crash Pad. So seriously, go see Crash Pad in Burbank this week.
Please,
or
yeah.
go on video on demand and search for it.